And thank you to our audience today. I believe we've got quite a few MBA applicants or prospective students out there, and we hope to give you a great overview of entrepreneurship in the MBA program at Georgetown University today. So my name is Jeff Reid. I'm the founding director of the Georgetown Entrepreneurship program. I earned an MBA myself many years ago. I founded the Entrepreneur Center at another university. I've also worked in the private sector at a venture-backed startup, also at a law firm and a nonprofit, so a variety of things. But I'm not a successful entrepreneur and I'm not a regular faculty member, but I think what I'm really good at is building these kind of programs. And what I love more than anything is the ability to help students figure out their best path in life. I absolutely love my job, and I hope I can help you figure out how to build a career that you absolutely love the way I do with mine. All right, I'm going to be joined today by some of our recent graduates, Carlos and Mackenzie, as well as two of our current first-year students, Dumi and Ethan. So you'll have a chance to hear from them in a few minutes and get to have a first-person perspective. And certainly we'll all be available to answer questions as we get towards the end of this program. Just a little, everybody wants to know, does your program turn out great startups? The answer for Georgetown is absolutely yes. Here are a handful of selected companies founded by our MBA students and recent graduates over the last several years. Everything from backpack companies to food to childcare to technology, an online dating app, real estate tech, all kinds of interesting and different types of technologies been founded by Georgetown students and alumni. More from the university, big brands like Sweet Green and Halo Top. Super Coffee is one of our up-and-coming star companies. We've got famous alumni like Chris Sacca of Lowercase Capital and Ted and Zach Leonsis, who own the local NBA and hockey teams and have great entrepreneurial chops. Those are just some of the cool startups that have come out of our program. But our program is not just about startups. We actually would love to help students who want to start a company or a nonprofit venture while you're in school or immediately after graduation. That's one of the kind of primary things people think of. But we also cater to students who maybe are thinking about being an entrepreneur someday later in their life and career. It doesn't have to be right after school. Or join a startup or leadership team at a growth company, or work in a bigger company, right? And these are things that a lot of students get, a lot of our MBA students are maybe more interested in joining a high growth company or working in a bigger company, but using entrepreneurial skills. And of course, that last one there is working around entrepreneurs, things like venture capital, consulting, et cetera. So we cater to all that. Also want to highlight, it's not just a right now thing. Some of our students do start companies right away. We have a lot of programs to help, but we also think about this as a long-term and really a lifelong relationship that you would have with Georgetown University and our entrepreneurship program. So it doesn't have to be something you do right away. One of our core beliefs is that just a recognition, really, that the world continues to change, whether it's a global pandemic or healthcare changes, technology changes, policy, political, whatever it might be. The world continues to change. The pace of disruption does not appear to be slowing down. So we think every single person should develop entrepreneurial skills, an entrepreneurial mindset, understanding risk, opportunity change, being able to deal with the disruption that comes along, or maybe you're the one that leads the disruption as opposed to being a victim or simply subject to disruption that's happening around us. We're doing some things right, I guess, because our graduates have earned us a lot of attention. This is rankings from the Bloomberg Businessweek Recruiter Survey. So MBA graduates over the last several years have earned us the reputation of having the #1 most innovative and creative graduates in the world. This is a worldwide MBA program survey, and in the top 5 for entrepreneurial skills and drive. I think we were also #3 for overall entrepreneurial excellence or reputation. So our graduates are doing something right. We're attracting amazing entrepreneurial, creative, innovative people, and maybe while they're at Georgetown, we help them become even more like that. Our mission, as stated here, first, we believe entrepreneurship is one of the world's most powerful forces for positive change. And we do. We work with students and alumni, and we also want to leverage the power of entrepreneurship beyond our Georgetown community. Another way to look at the mission is the 3 pillars you see here. We want every Georgetown student to develop an entrepreneurial mindset. We support alumni-led ventures, and we use our influence and impact to support the world beyond Georgetown using the power of entrepreneurship. A few more of our kind of core values and what makes our program distinctive. I have attended and worked at other business schools. I have engaged with colleagues and students from business schools all over the world. I could not be happier than to be at Georgetown in the McDonough School of Business. Some of the things that make our program distinct. First, we have a focus on students, not startups. We treat every person as an individual, and we really celebrate the success of our people. Yes, we talk about startups that are successful, but what we really measure is how many students are able to get the job they want, to pursue the career they want. And it's a focus on individuals. We do believe that entrepreneurship is a powerful force for good in the world. And that's rooted in our Jesuit values. Georgetown is a Jesuit university, and the common good is something we're all seeking to support. We do believe in capitalism. It doesn't mean we're all only starting nonprofits. There's actually a lot of overlap there between doing something good and making money. We have a global mindset, which is a part of our university and our business schools course strategy. We leverage the rest of our university. Some of our students have dual degrees with law or public policy or medicine or other parts of the university. And even those MBA students that don't have a second degree program at Georgetown can benefit from interacting with students from all these various disciplines. And of course, one of the cool things about Georgetown is we have an amazing, loyal alumni base. And part of the relationship we have with every one of our students and graduates is it's a lifetime relationship. Being an entrepreneur may be something you do when you graduate, or maybe something you do years later, and we have dedicated resources to support that in either case. Washington, D.C. is one of the amazing startup communities in the world. We're ranked usually somewhere between 3rd and 6th in the U.S. in terms of total venture capital dollars. We've recently been ranked #1 as a city in several different measurements around inclusivity, around entrepreneurship, whether it's women or other underrepresented minorities. They find themselves more welcome in the entrepreneurial community in the DC area than in most any other entrepreneurial ecosystem in the world. So, and those are part of our values as well. There's a lot going on in DC other than just a government. And really one of the things we focus on is building a community. We think that everyone interested in entrepreneurship should be able to find other people that share their values, share their interests, bounce ideas off, maybe co-found a business, or just find different ways to help each other out. And I think you'll hear some examples of that from our other panelists here today. Of course, we have an amazing curriculum. We have a diverse group of faculty. A whole lot of them have amazing entrepreneurial and investing experience, in addition to some world-class scholars. And they bring a tremendous amount of knowledge to the classroom. We have a set of elective courses, some amazing classes. You can ask the students later what their favorite classes have been around entrepreneurship. And again, we have, I forget how many, it's almost 20 different classes now for entrepreneurship. Tons of speaker events, whether it's Nobel Prize winners, student entrepreneurs, all kinds of different amazing people. One of these pictures is some of the founders of Sweet Green. A lot of great speakers come on campus, whether it's in an auditorium style or classroom event. Again, one of the great things about Georgetown is we're in the global hub, and a lot of people come through, and we get to take advantage of that. We have an amazing group of mentors. Entrepreneurship, by its very nature, requires some individual attention. It's hard to do things in a big batch when every individual aspiring entrepreneur has different questions, different needs, different markets they're going after. And so one of the ways we serve those different needs is by having a very diverse group of entrepreneurs and residents. These are all people with success as entrepreneurs and a wide array of backgrounds and industries. And they're here for free one-on-one coaching and consulting and advising for all of our students and alumni. Some of our other kind of cool programs, we have lots of pitch competitions. Bark Tank is one we had just a few weeks ago. We gave out $145,000. Some of that went to some of our panelists here today. Other events have over 100 companies or aspiring student teams. pitching in the Entrepreneurship Challenge, for instance, and Rocket Pitch is another one that's real easy to access. Some of these are designed to be easy access. Others are only for the best of the best. But we give students a lot of chances to try out their own business idea. Maybe they win one of those big fake checks that actually does come along with real money. Or maybe they just get some great experience and get to test their idea in a competitive environment. We have a new program that we're excited to launch this year. It's called the MBA Startup Fellows. And let me see. There we go. This is the correct slide there. We have a $10,000 stipend available for up to 3 different MBA students, perhaps more in the future. So they can get that $10,000 and spend their summer and not interning at another company, but working on their startup. So that money helps them pay their own living expenses, or maybe they can use it towards the beginning stages of their company. It just allows you to pursue that entrepreneurial dream without worrying about living expenses over the summer. You also get membership in our Georgetown Venture Lab. And that's one of the amazing programs we have designed primarily for alumni entrepreneurs. It's a facility in downtown DC. We have close to 20 alumni-led startups that are members there now. And you can hear a little bit more about that from some of our panelists. And it's a place where they can come together as part of a community and bounce ideas and share successes and share failures and have each other and have other Georgetown-related resources to support their entrepreneurial activities. Students can benefit as summertime associates there, working on their startup or interning for startups that are there. There's a lot of ways students interact with the alumni entrepreneurs at our Venture Lab. We also have a program helping students earn jobs in venture capital. You know, the Georgetown Venture Fellows program has been around for over 10 years, and we've placed dozens and dozens of students into venture fellowships. And a whole lot of those students go on to get full-time jobs in the venture community. So that program is in the placement rounds right now. We actually had 20 different venture fellowship opportunities available for first-year MBA students. There's a lot of opportunity if venture capital is something you're interested in. One of the other ways we help students learn about venture capital is through a program called the Venture Capital Investment Competition. This is a program that engages students from basically the best 70 or 80 business schools around the world. And it's something I actually created 25 years ago when I was working at a different university. And it turns out Georgetown students do really, really well. We've won, I believe it's 4 of the last 8 global championships for MBAs. And as well as a few championships for our undergrad students too. But it's just one of the ways our students get a chance to learn about venture capital, whether they want to be a founder or maybe an investor at some point. A few more signature programs for MBA students include our Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Club. One of the club leaders is with us today and can share more about that. I mentioned the VCIC, the Venture Fellows program. InSite Fellows is another student-led program where MBA students are given the opportunity to do consulting projects for real startups. They get to engage with the entrepreneurial ecosystem and often with venture capitalists and startups. We have a limited number of fellowships that are available. The Kramer Fellowship is it's a cash fellowship to support really top-notch prospective students and interested in entrepreneurship. And we have a lot of programs, whether it's Lunch and Learn. Some of those are offered by the Entrepreneurship Club. We actually started a new club this year called the MBA Entrepreneurship Through Acquisition Club for students who have a particular interest in maybe buying an existing company, and just tons of things available. We're adding new things all the time based on what students might be interested in. So that's the overview. I think I finished in about 15 minutes. We're now happy to take questions from the audience. I believe the methodology here is to type those into the Q&A box, and I'll do my best to share those out. Actually, while folks are tuning in their questions, I'm going to ask each of our panelists to introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their MBA entrepreneurship journey at Georgetown. And we'll go in order as we are here on the screen, starting with Carlos. Graduated last May and is a co-founder of a great company called Budeli. So Carlos, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, excited to be here, Jeff. Great 15 minutes, kind of going over everything kind of reminds me of all the things that I've been able to leverage the last couple of years and the different ways they've come in and impacted and launching the business. So hey everyone, first name is Carlos, last name is Bayo. I just recently graduated in May. Leading up to the program, I had a background in the culinary arts. I was a fine dining chef. Then I got into food tech. And then I came into the MBA program wanting to do something in the food world. Wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, but while I was here, I was able to join InSite, join the VC Fellows, and I got an internship working at a venture capital firm for a year. And while I was there, and while we had one of these programs that is a week long that allows you to come up with an idea for a particular startup, I came up with the startup that I'm now running and that I launched this September while I was in the MBA program. So what was one of the greatest advantages of being able to come with an idea and kind of breed it in the program is that you get to use the network, you get to use your access to your professors and your classmates to workshop the ideas, to build it out. And following the program, I launched it with another MBA student. The company is Budelli. If you want to check it out, it's budelli.co. There might be, a chance to explain what we do later on, but I want to make sure everyone else has a chance to introduce themselves and fill out any questions for me for any of the things I was just talking about.
Awesome. Thanks, Carlos. We will come back to you with some questions again here in a couple of minutes. Next up, Mackenzie Lloyd. So Mackenzie graduated in May with a dual degree, an MBA and a master's in public policy from Georgetown. So maybe you can tell us what that entailed and as well as your entrepreneurial journey here. Over to you, Mackenzie.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jeff. And thanks everyone who's popping on today to learn a little more. So as Jeff said, my name's Mackenzie. I originally came to Georgetown for the Master's in Public Policy program. Wanted to focus on basically going from a sales and tech background, which was like my previous 8 years, into doing something that had a more direct positive impact on the populations I cared about. When I applied, I specifically came to Georgetown knowing that there was a dual degree option between public policy and McDonough. And so in my first year at Georgetown, I got involved with Business for Impact, knew about Georgetown Entrepreneurship, but wasn't quite ready to jump in there yet. But I ended up applying for the dual degree, got in, and then in my first year of the MBA program, I think I did every single pitch event I could possibly do, and then came back and did the same pitch events again in my last year. So I really tried to take advantage of everything that Georgetown Entrepreneurship had. While at Georgetown, I founded two things. So the first is Homemade in DC, an online marketplace that offers corporate catering and custom gift boxes, all locally sourced from women, people of color, and LGBTQ entrepreneurs. And I actually met Carlos in Startup Factory, that week-long class, and both of us were like starting our things at the same time. So it's been really cool to kind of see us grow together. And then the new majority was something that came from my thesis on the public policy side. I did all the research on that side, but then used all of the entrepreneurship kind of options to incubate and to grow it. And so with the new majority, we're trying to make it easier for everyday new majority investors to invest directly into founders who look like them. So happy to answer any questions about being a solo founder, founding two things, working on social enterprises, pitching, basically trying to leverage every resource at Georgetown to make sure that we're able to grow. Oh, and of course, like dual degree, public policy, anything around that too.
Awesome. It's a lot of stuff we could ask everybody here. I do just to again to highlight, some folks are starting to put questions in. We do encourage everybody in the in our audience, our attendees, to use the Q&A, which is on the Zoom toolbar. If you go to Q&A there, you can type in your questions, and you can either direct it to one of our panelists or me, or just ask it in general, and we'll direct it as best we can. So please feel free to go ahead and start doing that. Thanks to those who are already doing it. Next up, Dumi. Dumi, tell us about you.
Thanks, Jeff. Hi, everyone. My name is Dumi Mabena. I'm a first-year MBA student from Harare, Zimbabwe, Southern Africa. And prior to coming to business school, I was more or less within Southern Africa, Zimbabwe and South Africa, working in startups. in a range of different industries, mainly real estate, manufacturing, and renewable energy. So I've always been very passionate about startups, building new businesses. And I think a big thing for me prior to coming to McDonough was about not necessarily like starting companies, but really developing the skill set around how do you scale businesses. So I think I had a hunch that I knew McDonough would be a really powerful resource for me coming in. But I think when I came in, I was blown away at how much resources were actually available. So right now, of course, I'm a first year student, but I spend a lot of my time working on like a current research thesis that I'm investigating, which is around inefficiencies in the podcast space. So there's a phenomenon called pod fade, which speaks about that specifically. But with regards to that at McDonough, I am just trying to, what I've been doing is using almost the 2-year runway that I have and every class that I have to make the most of all the resources that are available. So as opposed to doing at the end, I'm seeing so many resources and opportunities. I'm blown away and I want to make the most of them now so that by the end of the 2 years, hopefully, you know, we can create an idea that has enough momentum to become a real thing. So that's a little bit about me. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have around my background, podcasts, startups, and what, you know, and maybe a non-American perspective on business school. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Dewey. And Ethan, so I really wanted Ethan to be a part of this to show you what it's like to not be a founder or aspiring founder. So Ethan, tell us about your experience and, you know, basically one semester in for our Georgetown MBA program.
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So I come from a non-traditional background. So my background is in philanthropy and nonprofits. You know, since starting at Georgetown, I've taken advantage of a lot of the opportunities that Jeff mentioned. So I'm doing the InSite Fellowship, consulting with a startup that was actually founded by some MBAs, not Georgetown MBAs, but other MBAs. And so that's been a really great experience. Been, you know, that's a picture of me attending this networking event with startup founders and VCs called Entrepreneurial that Georgetown, the Entrepreneurship Center sponsors. And then I also am going to be starting in January a year-long internship as part of the Georgetown Venture Fellows program, interning directly with a VC. So it's a VC that was actually started by a Georgetown MBA alum. So it's just a really strong network there. And then I'm kind of, one thing Jeff didn't mention is there's another program run through Business for Impact, which is a center here at Georgetown called the Impact Investing Fellows. So with them, I'm going to be doing a smaller kind of research-based project with another venture fund located just steps from Georgetown University called Halcyon Fund. So that's a social entrepreneurship focused incubator accelerator program with a small venture fund to invest in the startups that come out of there. So there's a lot of great opportunities that, you know, a lot of them I didn't even know about before starting at Georgetown, and you know, just have taken advantage of many of them.
Awesome. All right. Thanks, Carlos, McKenzie, Jimmy, Ethan. I'm going to take down the slides and so that's the end of the slideshow, and we can just have more of a conversation here and with our panelists and a couple of our hosts here. So we're getting a few questions. Again, I encourage our attendees to put their questions in. I understand there's an anonymous function, so you can type your question in, and if you want to do so anonymously. So first question, and I think I'll direct this one to McKenzie and Carlos. So what is your favorite entrepreneurship course? And I direct it to you guys because I think our first year students are about to start taking entrepreneurship courses next semester. But Carlos or McKenzie, either one of you guys can go first. So what is your favorite course?
I'm going to give 3, even though there's a favorite. So Startup Factory is an ILE, intensive learning experience. It was 1 week long, super intense, changed my business model, I think 3 times, but I'm still using one of the ones that I created during that week with Eric Hester. The second class would be Social Entrepreneurship or Impact Investing with Melissa Bradley. She's just amazing regardless, so you should take one of her classes. And then the last one is Entrepreneurial Finance and VC with Arun Gupta. I didn't really have any VC background. That class is my only VC background. But it's helped me be at least like conversant in some of the things that I need to know as a founder. And it was a really good class from a learning perspective for someone who has no VC experience, but may end up raising in the future.
Yeah, I actually took all those three with Mackenzie. Huge fan, but the one that I really want to highlight is the entrepreneurship and venture capital. Venture capital is its own secret language. It's not something that is like very well standardized. There's a couple of key books that a lot of people reference. Venture Deals is like a book if anyone wanted to kind of look up what that is, that understands the terminology and the way that VCs think. The whole reason that it's such an important class is that the VC and the entrepreneurship ecosystem go together. When you're looking to build a potential company, look, all of us, Mackenzie included, no one knows what we're doing. Like everything that we're doing in entrepreneurship, we're tackling different skills and different objectives every single day. There's not a standard rubric, but the knowledge that we gain from understanding the VC world at least gives us a pathway and an idea of how we become solvent companies and how we actually build a product that makes sense. So taking a class like that is you're understanding the fine balance of how a VC later on, when you're going to go get money, is going to be looking at your product and how you've actually created a distinct value proposition, how you actually plan on being able to scale this and to grow this and be able to demonstrate that sense of growth, either through actual traction or through being able to explicitly explain on how you're going to get there through your vision. So having a class like that is a pretty rare one to come across, and it's incredibly impactful in being able to kind of buddy up and being able to demonstrate your level of knowledge and how you're growing your company and how you demonstrate that value.
That's awesome. Thanks, Carlos and Mackenzie. I think one of the benefits of the venture capital investment competition is even if you're an aspiring entrepreneur, you get to learn how VCs think, right? How do they think? How do they operate? And that's really valuable when you're going to be on the other side of that table later in your career as an entrepreneur. Okay, another question here is, what are the biggest ways Georgetown helps MBA students prepare for a career in private equity or venture capital? So we just heard about one of the great classes that is relevant there. That one's taught by Professor Arun Gupta, who had more than 20 years of experience as a venture capitalist here at a really successful firm called Columbia Capital. We've talked about the venture capital investment competition, which I don't know that I mentioned this part, but we allow all Georgetown MBA students to participate in an internal version of the VCIC. And then that's how we select our team that goes on to compete against other schools, but it gives every student a chance to learn from that experience. Also around private equity and venture capital. So maybe, Ethan, why don't you explain a little bit more about the Venture Fellows? And, you just went through that process in the last 2 or 3 weeks. So what is it like as a first semester student kind of looking for those opportunities?
Yeah, sure. So the Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Club is kind of one of the bigger career focused clubs at the school. And so kind of starting with that, they have a series of seminars that they host, preparing people kind of on the basics of venture capital, as well as host the venture capital investment competition that Jeff mentioned, that I also worked on organizing that. And so kind of later in the semester, the Venture Fellows program rolls out. So the applications opened like 3 weeks ago, I would say, maybe, 3 weeks ago. And there were 20 VCs around the country. Some of them are DC based. And they recruit they set up this program to recruit Georgetown students. So it's probably one way to ensure that you will be seen by these VCs, because it can be very competitive to get an internship with a VC. So these organizations are really committed, or these companies are really committed to recruiting Georgetown MBAs. And so I was able to get a number of interviews through that, and connect with one. And so I was able to to secure an internship for them. And that program is a year-long program. So what's the benefit of that is that you secure your summer internship pretty early on. I think I'm actually one of the first few of my classmates to actually know what they're doing this summer. So that's a big plus. And then you get to work with the same firm for a full year. So that's a lot of really great exposure. Where otherwise, if you're just working over the summer, then you have to make all your connections, get all your, get trained and try and make an impact in 10 weeks. Whereas now I have the benefit of being able to work throughout the semester with the VC, so that when the summer comes, I'm fully ready to, dive in there full time. And then it's optional, but most people continue with their VC into the fall semester of their second year. And there are some that do hire full time from that. I would say most don't, but it's just, a great way, especially for someone like myself who doesn't have this experience, to be able to get that VC experience.
Awesome. Thanks, Ethan. All right, we continue to get some questions here, so we'll go to the next one here. There's one that says, are all the clubs available to flex students? I think it's a great question. Our MBA program has a mix of full-time students and flex students. I think everyone on the group today is or was a full-time MBA student. So I'll take that. Or Dewey, you want to jump in there?
Yeah, so I was actually a flex before I changed to full-time. So I was a flex student during the first month of during SGI. So before we started the first semester, I was a flex student before we changed to full-time. And I started using the resources even then, or like looking into the resources then. I think when there was the Georgetown Entrepreneurship Awards that was the first Georgetown event I went to. And there was everybody there, from alumni I saw some flex students, and then also it was open to actual full-time students there as well. So yeah, you might be in flex, but there's still a ton of resources available to everyone who's interested.
Yeah, we do make things open and available. I think there are exceptions, like the Venture Fellows program is one of those exceptions where flex students are not eligible for. It's kind of like work-related programs, because I think the flex program assumes you have a full-time job already. But the Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Club, the Venture Capital Investment Competition, all of the courses, just about everything else is available to flex students. So I think that's great. I also just point out, we really try to build a big community with all of Georgetown University. So MBA students do get a chance to interact, not just with full-time and flex MBA students, but with law students or med students or public policy or however it might be. So our university is full of amazing, talented people who, really, Georgetown attracts people who want to change the world. And it's great. It's a great entrepreneurial practice to interact with people from different backgrounds and different disciplines. So thanks for asking that question. So I guess I'll ask a question for all of you, why did you choose Georgetown? And if you were considering other schools, I don't know that we want to name other schools necessarily, but what was it specifically that helped you choose Georgetown? And I guess I will ask Mackenzie to go first, and then Carlos and Ethan and Dumi.
Yeah, so mine, I was picking based off of policy schools rather than MBA schools. So McCourt is one of the top policy schools within the nation. And then it was the only one of the top schools I was looking at that did offer a dual degree. I was like, I'm going back for policy. I'm definitely not going to come back again for another 2 years for an MBA. So I did the 2 degrees in 3 years, which honestly was quite fine. 3 years of school is enough. But that dual degree was the potential. And then from an entrepreneurship side, so everything I do is mission oriented. The missions of both of my companies is to close the racial and gender wealth gap through entrepreneurship and investing. And so I loved that everything at Georgetown's entrepreneurship is geared towards the mission. I kind of feel like anything that started should have some sort of triple bottom line or some give back component. So I love that about Georgetown Entrepreneurship. I didn't ever have to defend why I'm a social enterprise. It was accepted and understood.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would love to say, I want to talk a little bit about the location aspect. Georgetown is an unbelievable fixture in the DC and the surrounding regions ecosystem. if you want to do anything in private, public, government, defense, anything, you can't enter like a decision maker's room without talking to someone who went to Georgetown, wants to be involved with Georgetown, is like somehow connected with either the MBA program, any of the other graduate programs, the undergrad program. I've been living in Northern Virginia for the last 6 years, and I have plans to stay here for a few more years. And so knowing that I wanted to exit and continue to work into the DC community, I know that having access with the Georgetown MBA network versus maybe another player is significant, and being able to open doors, to have informational coffee chats, to really just kind of further informationally and professionally your own career.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Ethan, why did you choose Georgetown?
Similar reasons. There was the focus on impact and kind of that mission orientation to the university. That was a big draw for me. And then second, also the location. I like DC a lot. I know that there's a robust entrepreneurial ecosystem here. And just thought, it'd be great to kind of be in a city where I could take advantage of a lot of opportunities, not just on campus, but outside of campus as well. And so I think that's been actually a huge bonus of being here, is just that ability to go to events, meet, startup founders who are all, located nearby.
Jimmy.
Awesome. For me, I think two things. The first thing was that, of course, I'm non-American, so I think it was interesting to be in a city that you're foreign, but you're not too foreign, if that makes sense. And DC is such a diverse place in that there are literally people from across the world here. And I felt very welcomed in the diversity of the city itself. And Georgetown being at the heart of that city was very important. So that was a very big bonus. I think the second big bonus was that I think sometimes a lot of the time people think of business schools as silos, but often business schools are part of a greater ecosystem of the brand of the school itself. So of course, Georgetown Business School is a good school, but also it gets to be part of all the other schools that make Georgetown what it is. And there's a lot of value in that, not just now, but also as your career progresses into the future. So I wanted to be at a school that was good as a business school, but beyond a business school, did it have resources and that I could tap into after I finish? And that was very valuable for me. So I think those two things were the reason why I chose to come in.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. All right. We have a question around how does Georgetown support students that have an existing business? And Dumi, I'm going to come back to you because you probably fit this a little bit better than our others. I think we heard Carlos and Mackenzie, they both started working on their business while they were in school, but you kind of started your business before school. So what have you found to be the support for you as an entrepreneur, even starting in the first semester?
Great question. So I kind of came in with, I would say, more with like a thesis. So it's really a seed. I came in with a seed. And the big thing that I found very insightful was they have this thing called a talk. So there's a room where the entrepreneur residents will come to the business school every Tuesday, and you can have a seed or an idea, and everyone just talks about the idea. And from that moment, it started to be shaped and molded in the right way. It was a very safe space in which people could be authentic with things that they were working on, and no idea was bashed down. So of course, I went to a number of those, and a significant number of those. And of course, I pitched that rocket pitch. So then there's talks, there's opportunity to pitch the idea, hear yourself speak about the idea out loud. Then after that, keep working on the idea, test it, get advice from people who can give you guidance across each stage of your startup idea. And then of course, resources like MBA startup fellows, of course, are even just as important. So there was idea, I had people, the resources to help mold my thinking. And then of course, opportunities to win prize money off pitches, but then also an office space to work, get funded whilst you work on that thing. So there were a lot of incremental steps that would be helpful across the way. And that's outside of class itself. So I think that's kind of on a high level perspective around how Georgetown was valuable. And that's still really early on. There's still like a year and a half left. So that's now. And as you look into the future, if that's all the help you're getting now, how much more could you do for the next year and a half of your business school career? So hope that answers the question.
So one of the things that Dumi mentioned was our entrepreneurs in residence. And, I mentioned this in the opening presentation. We have close to 30 amazing people. Mackenzie, I'll let you chime in and you can say whatever you wanted to say, but I also want you to talk about, how have you interacted with some of our mentors like our EIRs?
Yeah, I also want to say that one of the other MBA full-times in my cohort, she came in with her own company, quite established. It is called Map Collective. So Tara is a great example of someone who came in with like a thriving business and is like more thriving now. So everyone should connect with her. She's awesome. And then, yes, resources as far as like mentorship goes. One of the first pitch events I did was a COVID design challenge one. And the mentor that we were randomly assigned, Danny Wright, I don't think he anticipated how often I might come back to him for pitch advice, but he has basically looked at every single pitch that I've done. Only recently have I stopped sending him my stuff, but he's been a phenomenal resource and mentor that I was, again, randomly connected through a pitch event. But then I also participated this past summer in the Summer Launch Incubator, which was something that was a really fun opportunity to get to know more founders or potential founders across, not just like in the MBA program, but undergrad, other programs. And then we were assigned mentors as well through that. So it's been a really interesting to see you see the regular EIRs and mentors that are kind of like at each event, but it's been also really cool to see other mentors who will raise their hand, their alumni or Georgetown affiliated in some way, but they'll raise their hand for like one-off kind of sponsorship, mentorship throughout, and a huge range of background. So if you don't click with one mentor or you want like 10 mentors in your back pocket, there's a lot there.
Awesome. Yeah, that's by design. I mentioned earlier, we love creating community. I also think this might be a good time to point out, a lot of people assume entrepreneurship is only about tech. And I think we've heard several examples here of people starting companies. Maybe there's technology involved, but you don't necessarily have to be inventing new technology. We support all kinds of entrepreneurial activities here. It's not just tech. So I think that's important to point out. So again, on the topic of community, I'm going to go to Carlos. So the picture behind me in my Zoom background is from the Georgetown Venture Lab. And this is, that picture was the dedication of our Hoyapreneur Hall of Fame. We honored the founder of Health Aid Kombucha, which is she's a Georgetown alum. That's her in the middle, and lots of other amazing Georgetown alumni. But in addition to that Hall of Fame, is on the wall there, it's a place for entrepreneurs to work. And Carlos, you've been a member there for a few months. Can you talk about what the Venture Lab has meant for you and how alumni benefit from that?
Yeah. It's just a great space. We kind of talked about this maybe like 10 minutes ago, but all entrepreneurs are scared in their own regard. There's a high sense of confidence, but there's so many things that they're tackling that they don't know how to do. So having having a space where everyone can gather and workshop different ideas. A week before we launched, we were kind of deciding how we wanted to design our website. And I took one of the whiteboards in the room and just kind of sketched out 4 different ideas. And people, as they were coming in, just came into the conference room and said like, hey, look, I like how you're positioning this here. Consider rewording this, do this. So being able to just do a quick 10-person workshop on something to validate a direction that you want to go with is incredibly valuable. The other alternative would be try to send it to friends and family, or do some sort of elaborate Google survey where people click through it. This was like real-time actionable insight. So having access to that cohort there is pretty significant.
Awesome. Thank you. So we're getting close to the end of our time here. I'm going to ask each of you if you have anything else you want to add. And I guess I'm going to call on Ethan. Tell me what else prospective student maybe should know about Georgetown and entrepreneurship.
That's a good question. Thanks for call me first there. So I would say that you don't have to come in knowing that, this is something you 100% want to do. I think, I kind of came in with like a certain concept of, what it was I wanted to do, and then just found that there were so many more opportunities than I had even knew about as a prospective student. So I would say, that the best advice I would give is know what's like really important for you in your decision making, and where there's a community that's going to be there to support you. And I think for me that community was really robust at Georgetown, and opened my eyes to so many more opportunities than I was aware of before.
I knew you could handle that with a cold call. Great job. I'll let our other panelists volunteer, whoever wants to go next. Do me, thanks.
Cool. Okay, cool. I think, just to echo what Ethan said earlier, you don't have to know exactly what it is you want to do when you begin here. I think, at least for me, because what happens when you come to business school is that there are a ton of options, so many options, it can become overwhelming, and it can be easy to, get caught in the tide of whatever seems cool at the time. But you at least come with a hunch of what you're curious about, and be authentic to what your curiosity is a really robust community that will help you at least figure it out, and help you work through the thoughts that you have. And I've seen that here there's more than I thought before I came. So I often think I know the scope of it now, but I actually think I haven't seen the half of it. I think I've spoken to Ellie, who's the co-founder of a company called Joylet, and she was telling me about how she started her startup through a startup class, and some of the resources that she was getting just to get where she was. I was blown away. So it's funny that you think it's just a 2-year thing, but it's actually a community that carries you even after you leave. And then they even give people awards who are in their 40s, 50s. So it's like, it's not just a one-time thing, it's a whole lifetime community that you're kind of getting into. So yeah, I would say, similar to Ethan's points, you don't have to know exactly what it is, but it's a very safe space to feel your way through it and figure out what it is that you want to do. So yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that. By the way, Allie is in the photo behind me. And she is one of our Flex students, and she's still in the Flex program while she continues to build her startup with a co-founder who is a full-time MBA student, and they met in one of our classes together. So that is a good story about how the full-time and Flex programs are mixing there and doing cool entrepreneurial things. So Carlos or Mackenzie? Carlos, I'm going to call on you. Mackenzie, you're going to get to be our cleanup batter here. Carlos won $10,000 for his company as part of our Bark Tank event about a month ago. Carlos, what should people know about Georgetown's MBA program that maybe we haven't talked about yet?
Obviously, what everyone's kind of talking about is you don't need to know what you're going to do at the MBA program. 10 years ago, I was going to go to law school and I was studying for the LSATs. Glad I didn't do that path, but it's right for some people. 7 years ago, I was working in Michelin kitchens, and now I'm running this. It's good to not know what you're doing as long as you're driven and you want to continue furthering yourself, your passions, and your professional development. That's fantastic. Georgetown is going to give you the resources you need to really be able to do that. If you want to do entrepreneurship and don't even have an idea, that's fine. There are people here who are still hashing out ideas, who are looking for other co-founders who want to take the jump with them. This is an ecosystem that has been created for just hyper creativity. So if you know that you have a certain skill set, but don't have maybe the creative element in your mind of like exactly what it is, you can find a co-founder here who might be interested in that.
Awesome. Thanks, Carlos. Mackenzie.
Yeah, so I was going to focus on two things. One is if you do have an idea, or you're like currently the person who's keeping a list of the ideas that you'd like to perhaps work on, I do think that this is a great place. Like I said, you got all the pitch competitions to like practice your, what's your value prop? What are you even talking about, right? And then you've got a lot of the other resources that can help you develop the idea. And if you are coming in, I do strongly recommend using every class opportunity to like develop your idea. That's what I did with Home A in DC and the New Majority. It's kind of like free consulting. You'll go like 20 different directions, but then ultimately you get to pick one, and also you can graduate with a pitch deck, which is awesome. If you are not the person with the founding idea but you want to get involved, I think it's an awesome way to, like Carlos said, perhaps meet a co-founder, or I'm still looking to build out my founding team, right? And I will always come back to Georgetown. I've been working with Georgetown MBA interns. I'm looking at undergrads. So if you are interested in getting involved, yet you're not the founder, but you want to support early stage, there's also a lot of opportunities to do that as well. And then the last thing I want to end with is one of the professors that we had mentioned, Arun Gupta. He said something in one of his classes about how, this is going to get your MBA is an awesome time to think about your pivoting generally, right? You don't just come to like continue on. You come because you want a big change and you think that the MBA is going to get you there. And something that he said was, put yourself in the path of the people that you really admire, that either you want their job, you want to work with them because they're a great person, right? Or, they're doing the work that you want to do, having the impact you want to have. And so I think that when you're choosing where your MBA is, thinking about like, where do a lot of the people go? Who are the types of people that are going to that program? And like I said, for me, mission oriented, always knowing that, yes, I want to make millions, but I want to have a huge impact on my way there and lift a ton of people up with me. And so I know that at Georgetown, at least in the entrepreneurship side, there's a lot of people who want to do that as well. So I'm putting myself in the path of the people that, I want to work with. And obviously this is plan A, but if plan A, B, C, and D, don't work, I'm meeting a ton of cool people in the Georgetown entrepreneurship alumni world that can see the work that I'm doing, know what I'm focused on, and they can be my, plan E if it doesn't work.
Awesome. Thank you. I want to also thank my colleagues, Aveline Argo, who works in the Georgetown Entrepreneurship Initiative with me, and Catherine Chan in the MBA Admissions Office for helping put together the webinar. And thanks to our panelists, Mackenzie, Dumi, Carlos, and Ethan. Really appreciate all of you being here. And most of all, thanks to our attendees. We hope you've gotten a better sense of what Georgetown Entrepreneurship is all about for MBA students. We really are trying hard to build a community of people who are going to change the world through entrepreneurship, and we welcome you to be a part of it. Thanks, everybody.